Have you ever felt a cold wave of resentment from the very people you were trying to help? It feels like a fundamental glitch in the universe. You offer your heart, your time, and your patience, yet instead of the expected gratitude, you're met with a strange, sharp hostility. You might assume they're just ungrateful or having a bad day, but the truth Carl Jung uncovered is far more chilling and complex. Your goodness is actually wounding their ego. Most of us are raised to believe that being helpful is a universal currency that always buys appreciation. We are taught that if we are good, the world will respond in kind. But Jung's deep dives into our hidden psyche prove the opposite. Your benevolence might be the exact spark that ignites their rage. Stay with me, because by the time this video ends, you'll grasp the hidden mechanics of why decent individuals are often targeted, and, crucially, how to safeguard your spirit from your own generosity. Jung proposed a concept that many find difficult to swallow. He suggested that we all possess a shadow, a dark reservoir of everything we deny about ourselves. This isn't just a metaphor. It is a living, breathing part of your psyche that contains your repressed desires, your shame, and your untapped potential. The less we acknowledge this shadow, the more toxic and dense it becomes, eventually directing our lives through unconscious impulses. What does this imply for your daily interactions? Here is the startling reality Jung mapped out. When you are perpetually generous, patient, and understanding, you aren't just being a good person. You are inadvertently functioning as a mirror to their internal darkness. Your light becomes a painful glare reflecting everything they lack. To a person who has spent their life suppressing their own capacity for warmth or integrity, your presence is an indictment. Within Jungian theory, the shadow holds our rejected traits, our failures, our primal urges, and the parts of ourselves we've buried alive to fit into society. This is where human nature turns dark. When an unhealed person witnesses your authentic warmth, their subconscious doesn't celebrate. It panics. It feels small and exposed. Jung identified this as shadow projection. This is a psychological defense mechanism where we take our own internal conflicts and project them onto others. They start treating you as an antagonist, not because of a specific slight you've committed, but because your presence forces them to acknowledge their own inadequacy. They don't hate you. They hate the feeling of being less than that arises when you are around. But the psychological rabbit hole goes even deeper than simple jealousy. Jung famously remarked that facing oneself is the most daunting task a human can undertake. He said, "To look within is to wake, to look without is to dream." Your kindness is a forced awakening for them. Think about it. When you respond to cruelty with grace or meet chaos with calm, you are presenting a terrifying alternative to their current state of being. You are proving that a different way of existing is possible. And for someone heavily invested in their own misery, that is a threat to their entire worldview. Jung realized that most people would rather cling to a miserable, familiar identity than endure the ego death required to change. Your virtue is a direct threat to their structural reality. If they admit you are truly good, they have to admit that they are capable of being better, and that responsibility is more than most can bear. Jung called this a form of psychological inversion. Rather than being inspired to climb higher, the person feels diminished. The only way for them to regain a sense of equilibrium is to dismantle your reputation. They must bring you down to their level so the gap between your character and theirs disappears. Here is the part that will truly change your perspective. The more sincere your kindness, the more intensely you agitate their shadow. This isn't a linear reaction, it's exponential. To survive this internal friction, they must invent a narrative where you are the villain. They'll claim your motives are selfish, that you're love-bombing them, or that your smile is a mask for manipulation. Jung saw that people will construct complex hallucinations of your true evil just to avoid the mirror you're holding up. By convincing themselves you are fake, they can dismiss the uncomfortable virtues you represent. This leads to a piercing insight into the nature of social friction. Jung noted that whatever irritates us in others is a compass leading to our own hidden selves. But what happens when your kindness is the irritant? Jung explored the concept of the persona, the social mask we wear to survive and fit into the crowd. Many people build a mask of toughness, cynicism, or realistic coldness. When you arrive with genuine, unmasked empathy, you aren't playing the game. You are breaking the social contract of everyone for themselves. This makes their mask feel heavy, fake, and hollow. They can't process this discomfort consciously, so they project the fakeness onto you. They will label your gentleness as weakness and your wisdom as mere luck. Why? Because recognizing your strength would force them to admit their own cowardice. They aren't actually mad at your deeds. They are mourning their own lack of character, and they are using you as the scapegoat for that mourning. This brings us to a vital realization about the cost of growth. When your state of being threatens someone else's comfortable slumber, conflict is inevitable. Jung observed that most people are effectively sleepwalking through life, merely reacting to cultural scripts and childhood conditioning. By practicing consistent kindness, you are engaging in individuation, the process of becoming a whole, distinct human. This is terrifying to those who haven't done the work. Your evolution highlights their decay. Your clarity highlights their fog. Jung noticed that the unconscious will often try to sabotage those who are further along the path. It is a primitive, automatic reflex to pull the high achiever back into the mud of the collective. This explains why your growth often results in lost friends or strained family ties. The more you heal, the more they will try to reopen your old wounds, just to see if you're still one of them. They want to see you break, because if you don't break, it proves they have no excuse for their own brokenness. Jung also warned about the power of the group. We are all influenced by the collective, unconscious, ancient patterns shared by all humans across history. When you choose compassion in a culture that rewards aggression, you are a biological anomaly. You are a threat to the established order of the tribe. Jung identified the scapegoat as one of our most potent archetypes. In a cynical environment, the kind person is the perfect vessel for the group's collective shame. They unite against you because your presence makes the group's shared cruelty undeniable. By attacking you, they feel a false sense of unity and moral superiority. Is it possible that being your true self is the reason you're being hunted? Jung's answer is profound. The people who resent your kindness are actually providing you with a map of your own power leaks. This is a difficult truth to accept, but we must look inward. Are you being kind to empower others, or are you doing it to be liked? Are you giving from a place of abundance, or are you buying safety with your niceness? Jung warned of the helper's neurosis. If you are using goodness to control how people perceive you, you aren't being kind, you're being tactical. People can smell this hidden agenda, even if they can't name it. This performative virtue triggers even more hatred because it feels like a lie. It's a subtle form of manipulation that attempts to put others in your debt. Jung famously said, "I am not what happened to me, I am who I choose to become." This is the turning point for you. Jung discovered that the first step to freedom is realizing their hatred has nothing to do with you. It is a dialogue they are having with their own demons. Once you see the projection for what it is, a movie being played on the screen of your life, you can hold your ground, but you must do your own shadow work. You have to confront the part of you that craves the title of the good one. You have to acknowledge your own capacity for anger, selfishness, and power. Only when you integrate your own capacity for darkness can your kindness become a choice rather than a compulsion. True benevolence requires ironclad boundaries. Without them, you aren't a saint, you're a victim. You are essentially inviting others to dump their shadow onto you, because you've made it easy for them. Jung taught that healthy individuals aren't threatened by light, only those living in the dark are. When you move from a place of overflow rather than a need for input, the dynamic shifts completely. People can't project inadequacy onto you because you aren't trying to prove anything. You have reached differentiation. You are yourself, and they are allowed to be their messy, unhealed selves, but their mess no longer stains your coat. One of the most toxic traps Jung identified was the rescuer cycle. If you are constantly finding victims to save, you might be unconsciously seeking a sense of superiority to mask your own insecurities. Eventually, the person you save will resent you because the relationship was never built on equality. They will turn on you to prove they don't need your light, often biting the hand that fed them to reclaim their sense of agency. They will lative crime. If you keep attracting people who despise your generosity, you must ask if you are recreating a childhood pattern where you were only safe when you were useful. Jung would say you are fate calling these people to force yourself to grow past the need for external approval. The goal isn't to stop being a good person. The goal is to remove the internal barriers like the need for validation or the fear of being seen as mean that make your kindness a target. Authentic kindness is quiet. It doesn't need a standing ovation. It doesn't need to fix anyone. It is simply an expression of your nature. Jung found that this version of kindness is rarely attacked in the long run because it doesn't challenge the other person's ego in an aggressive way. It just exists. This is the path of the transcendent function, where you hold the tension between being compassionate and being protective. When you accept your own shadow, your kindness becomes bulletproof. It no longer requires a thank you to stay alive. You are no longer performing a role. You are simply being. And that is the ultimate threat to a world built on masks. Jung noticed that where power is the priority, love is always missing. Your kindness is a display of emotional wealth. In the eyes of the emotionally bankrupt, this is a reason for war. Envy doesn't just want your treasure, it wants to burn your treasury so that nobody can have it. Envious people will stress test your boundaries. They will make impossible demands just to see you snap, so they can finally say, "See? They're just like us. They aren't special." Don't fall for the trap. Defending your sincerity only validates their suspicion. In their world, everyone is a predator or a liar. If you try to prove you aren't, they assume you're just a better liar. The only winning move is to remain centered and unbothered. Finally, consider those who are addicted to their wounds. For some, their pain is their entire personality. It is their source of significance and their excuse for not participating in the hardships of life. When you offer them kindness, you are accidentally threatening their source of attention. They will push you away and then blame you for leaving because they need you to be the bad guy so they can remain the eternal victim. This is the victim's revenge. They punish the helper to maintain the status quo of their suffering. Your job is to recognize when a person is more in love with their problem than your solution. You cannot save someone who uses their drowning as a way to control the people on the shore. Jung believed that every person who irritates us is a mirror. The people who hate your kindness are your most rigorous teachers. They are showing you exactly where you lack boundaries. They are showing you where you are still seeking external gold to fill an internal hole. When you stop taking the projection personally, you achieve psychological sovereignty. You can be kind without being a doormat. You can be understanding without being a sponge for their toxins. You stay kind because it is who you are, not because of how they react. As you navigate this path for the channel winds of thought, remember that the world doesn't need more nice people who are easily broken. It needs kind people who are incredibly strong. True kindness is a position of power, not a plea for acceptance. It is a choice made by someone who has the strength to be cruel, but chooses to be gentle. Jung's roadmap is clear. Look inward, integrate your darkness, and your light will become unshakable. You don't need to change the world's reaction. You only need to change your relationship with your own soul. When you do that, you become a force of nature. An awakened heart doesn't fear the shadow, it illuminates it. The choice to be authentically yourself, regardless of the noise, is the only true freedom we have. This process of individuation is not a destination, but a lifelong journey. Every encounter with a hater or a resentful person is a chance to refine your boundaries and deepen your self-acceptance. When you no longer need the world to mirror your goodness back to you, you become truly independent. You stop being a reactor and start being a creator. Your kindness becomes a gift you give to yourself first, and then let overflow to others. Thank you for walking this path with me today. This exploration of the human psyche is vital for anyone trying to maintain their integrity in a complex world. If this helped you understand a difficult relationship, or gave you the language for a pain you couldn't describe, please share it with someone else who is struggling to stay kind in a harsh world. Your support keeps this work alive. You understand that the hostility of others is often a sign of your own progress. Go out and be kind, stay strong, and keep your boundaries high. The world is waiting for your authentic light, but remember, it is your light to God. Be the master of your own house. Choose your inner peace over the approval of the unhealed. Because, as Jung ultimately discovered, the privilege of a lifetime is being who you are, and that includes being kind enough to yourself to walk away from those who cannot handle your heart. Stay mindful, stay grounded, and keep looking inward. The answers you seek have been there all along.